white kind of, it's either this or it's this. Was that?
There's a lot of improv throughout the film. In that scene, Barbara came up with the idea. Can I, scoop some? I don't remember if she came up. Anyway, someone came up with the idea to take the frosting and give it to her mouth, and I didn't tell Natalie that it was going to happen. So that suddenly here's someone, I mean, she knew Barbara, but still someone's finger was a little nasty. So that shot and Natalie's reaction, unfortunately, we're on the back of her head for that take because we were doing Barbara's coverage, but you can see Natalie kind of back off for a second and be a little freaked out, and we used that. So there was constant improv and growth and accidents that happened. And other, like when they smash into the mirror, we always knew we were going to smash into the mirror, but we weren't going to do it in the wide shot. We had this really great shot that was going to be a close-up going into the mirror because it's kind of the big key part, breaking the mirror and then killing her with the mirror. That's the whole metaphor of the film. And but that first time we smashed the mirror was such an amazing stunt. It just happened, and it was like, wow, it looked great. And then we changed the whole action and the whole fight scene in the moment to work with that one shot. So, things like that.
Same one VFX shot.
Exactly. You cut a shot. So.
Right there in the middle.
Yeah, you said that you were really attracted to overdramatic characters. There's so many characters that could fit that role, but what like when you decide what character you're gonna do next or you're gonna write about, what is the thing that attracts you? How do you decide?
I don't know. I mean, it's just something in the character. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think they start off that way. I think they come in different ways. But Requiem was a book, and the others are pretty original ideas. But I think we just slowly develop the characters. We probably start thematically, though, to be honest, and think about what the kind of underlying themes of the movie are, and then the characters develop out of that, which is kind of melodramatic, because they're not, they're coming out of ideas as opposed to like just emotion. But then we try to build the emotion out of those ideas, and that's kind of how it happens, and it takes a long time, all of them. Right there.
What's the genesis of this idea, and was there anything that was particularly difficult about developing the story?
Where did the idea begin, and was there any difficult developing?
It's weird because there's a lot of genesis for the film. There was an underlying script, which was this thriller-based script called The Understudy that we stumbled on 10 years ago that started it. And then there was my idea of wanting to do it in the ballet world, and then stumbling upon Swan Lake and seeing a double in Swan Lake. There was a black swan and white swan in the ballet played by one dancer. And then, so that there were a lot of different starting points that came together, and they sort of threaded together. Eventually, we just threw out everything and went back to the original fairy tale of Swan Lake, and then tried to build characters and ideas and scenes out of it. And the same way that Clint kind of took the score and translated it into something new, we tried to do the same thing with the ballet,
Right there.
Do you have any other endings in mind, or did you shoot any other endings?
Well, the ballet ends with the swan jumping off of a cliff. So we knew the movie had to end that way. Although I'll tell you a story. When I was in Russia promoting The Wrestler, and there was a production of Swan Lake. When I was in St. Petersburg, Swan Lake was playing. I was like, oh, I got to go see the Russian Swan Lake, and it has a happy ending. They kill the Rothbard demon, they rip off his wings, and they're happily ever after. And I'm in St. Petersburg, and there's a happy ending to Swan Lake. What's gone wrong? But then we did research into the original story, the Tchaikovsky production in the late 19th century, and it was a depressing ending. So we knew that was gonna be the end always. We just didn't know how we were gonna get there always, and it just took a while to figure that out.
Right there.
First, how difficult it was to develop a story from the female's point of view with the female psychology, and how difficult it was to work on set with the director and take these emotions out. Because I heard that Natalie wanted her to do 7 working together separately.
was it to project it from a female point of view and then working with Mila in one point and Natalie in the other?
That's not quite what she said, but it's fine. It's like she speaks English, you don't need to translate that. I feel like I'm in Japan, that's what the translation is. I think that's what they meant, but we'll give it a shot. Sorry. Let's see, so the female saying, I don't think there's that much difference between men and women. I think that whole Venus-Mars thing is a bunch of nonsense for Oprah to make a few more $1 million. But, I think there's not that much difference. I think that's the magic of cinema, is that you can go and see a film about, a 5-year-old in Iran, or Peter O'Toole in that movie Venus dying in England. And, that's the human experience. And we all understand it. It's all in us. I don't think it's that much of a mystery, the differences. So I don't know. I don't think I don't approach it that way, that's a wall. I remember, this is a little personal, but in high school, when you doodle a lot, which is what I used to draw all the time in high school, and all I would draw guys. And then I try to draw girls and they look terrible, which is kind of weird. Anyone else have that experience? You just draw your own sex for a long time? That scene in Superbad where you're just drawing penises? No comment about that. But, so then when I went to film school, the first film I made was about men. And then I said, you know what, I'm going to just do something. The first 2 films I did were sort of about men. And I said, I really just want to make a film about a woman. And I did that as my 3rd project. And then kind of, I realized there wasn't that much difference, it's just, you could get into it and it's the same thing. So that's that. You want to translate that now? And then the second part about Mila and Natalie was, I tried to make them competitive, but they're old friends. So it was really ridiculous. I'd be like, Mila's better than you, Natalie. And Natalie's like, I've been training for a year and that girl's got flat feet. So it didn't really work. But I tried.
We have time for a couple more. Please use small words right there. Yes.
You have a pretty unique visual style, and you kind of touched on this film, but just in general, I was wondering if you could go into the process you take when you start to collaborate with somebody like Matthew, and how you choose to bring a story from the page to the screen.
Well, when we start working together, I might have a few ideas, but not many, and he'll have ideas from reading the script, but then me, him, and Therese, the production designer, and the costume designer, Amy Westcott, and maybe just about the 4 of us will sit in a room, and we usually, Maddie and I will be alone talking about how the camera's going to frame and move, and I talked a little bit about the handheld discussions, which were ongoing for a long time. But the color, with Therese and Amy, we'll sit around and talk color, which is probably the first thing you do when you sort of stylize a color film, is to figure out how you're going to control your palette. And
well, I start anything with just sort of a collection of references, and I just whether they be films or photographs, I just pull everything I can, and I just sort of whittle them down to sort of a direction that I can present to Darren as this is the idea of the atmosphere I think that the film could have. And it's an ongoing thing where on the computer or on tear sheets, I just keep editing them. And then, I start building towards it. And once we get palette and composition and camera movement down, it's just really taking all those pieces and starting to melt them together.